दिशन्तु मे देव
दिशन्तु मे देव
सदा त्वदीयाः दयातरङ्गानु चराः कटाक्षाः श्रोत्रेषु पुंसाम् अमृतं क्षरन्तीम् सरस्वतीं संश्रितकामधेनुं ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः तुष्टुवागुं सस्तनूभिः व्यसेम देवहितं यदायुः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम. Welcome back everyone. So we have completed 12 or 13 sessions. So as I said, as we are completing a few number of sessions, we'll go deeper and deeper into application part. And of course, there will be lots of stories, no doubt about that. So we talked about one day, synchronizing our cycles with the cycles in the world. Do you remember that? Yeah? So what does that mean? Synchronizing our cycles with the natural cycles around us. What does that mean? Did I use some words like circadian rhythm or anything like that? You recall that? Okay. So can you tell one example? How do you sync our rhythm with the natural rhythm? One example. Anybody? Come closer.
Women's monthly.
Say loud. Yeah?
Sleep when the sun
Yeah.
comes down.
Yeah?
What did she say?
Sleep when the moon comes down.
Oh,
Yeah. And wake up at the sunrise or before sunrise, right? Because that is so important and so powerful, because it will create a rhythm that we don't see. A lot of rhythms we see, but a lot of rhythms we don't see. And this is called Sandhya. Dawn is called Pratha Sandhya. Dusk is called Sayam Sandhya. And I told something bad about Sayam Sandhya, yeah? It is called Asura Sandhya, because there is something there. And there is also Madhyanika Sandhya in the middle. So why is this Sandhya there? One Sandhya is one juncture of sleep to wakefulness. You're coming up from sleep to wakefulness. The other Sandhya, dusk, is wakefulness to sleep. You are making a transition. That is another juncture. And another juncture is in the morning, mid-noon. That is when the activity going up to activity going down. So one is ignorance to knowledge. The morning Sandhya is ignorance to knowledge. We are ignorant when you are asleep. Do you remember who you are when you are asleep? When people are talking about you, you wouldn't even know. People might say that I am a poet when I am awake, but when I am asleep, they might say anything and I don't know anything. Right? So I'm going from ignorance to knowledge. That is morning Sandhya. And Sayam Sandhya is knowledge to ignorance. We are stepping back into ignorance, slumber, sluggishness. And during daytime, the activity ramps up since you wake up. And then activity ramps down from noon. So therefore, 3 Sandhyas are very important. It's called Sandhi, means joint. It is also a juncture. So why these junctures are so important or so dangerous? Because if we lose the truth during these junctures, we would have lost it permanently. So I'll give you an example. So let us say you are reading a book, nice story, before you go to bed. You're reading a nice story. And then when you first wake up, what would be your first thought?
The book.
The book and the story,
Yeah.
right? Why did you wake up with that same? Why not with a dream, or why not with something else?
Because you were reading the book before you
Before you went
went.
to bed. So that means when you are transitioning from wakefulness to sleepy state, whatever is your last thought would be the first thought when you wake up. So if that moment, if you have a good thought, you will wake up with a good thought. In the very first lecture I said something. You remember, among everything we should start with auspiciousness. And then it necessarily ends it with auspiciousness. And the middle will also be auspicious. So we have to maintain that auspiciousness. If we don't maintain that auspiciousness, conquering our inner enemies is very, very difficult. So similar problem occurred in Ramayana. Rama was battling with Ravana. It's almost 10 days of battle. Nothing is going up or down. The battle is still continuing. Of course, Rama's side, Vanaras have great victories. Kumbhakarna was slayed, even Indrajit was slayed. All these terrible people were all taken care of. But Ravana's battle is not ending. So Rama is getting a little anxious. What is going on? He's a little bit worried. Then when he was worried, in the morning, then the new morning, 11th day came up again. So he was worried, how will I battle this? How will I tackle this enemy? This enemy, there is no end in sight. When will this end? He was thinking about that. Then suddenly a great divine sage named Agastya came with all other rishis. And then he immediately, Rama, he came. Rama, Mahabaho, you're very capable, but something subtle fixation is needed. You're extremely capable. Mahabaho, right? Mahabaho means somebody who has great arms.
Is
Yeah?
this from the Aditya Hridayam?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to. So he has great arms, right? So when you have great arms, what does it mean? Basically, you're very capable. But there is a little fixation needed in your thought process, in your mindset. And then he taught him Aditya Hridayam. And then he said Aditya Hridayam should be recited in the Pratha Sandhya, Madhyanika Sandhya, Sayam Sandhya. And Aditya Hridayam is actually a commentary of Gayatri Mantra. You must have heard of Gayatri Mantra, right? One of the most important mantras in Sanatana Dharma in Veda, Gayatri Mantra. It is basically a commentary of Gayatri Mantra. So he said this. And what does Aditya Hridayam does? It changes the perspective. Agastya said, you need little fixation in your perspective. And when you fix that perspective, then victory is inevitable. Victory over inner enemies is inevitable. So different people have different perspectives. If you take an animal in a Saharan desert and ask the animal, let's assume that it speaks English, ask the animal that what is your conception of the world? What will it say? I wake up every day, I spend all my time trying to devour stuff and trying to get avoided from getting devoured. Yeah?
It's a matter of life or death.
My life or death, yeah, either I devour or I get devoured. This is the conception that the animal has. A lot of people in this world have same conception. They think that world is a big place, there are so many people, everybody is there to harm me and I have to protect myself. So they react, they get angry, they bully. Either they devour other people, they try to take advantage of other people, or they get taken advantage of. That's their conception. In their conception, their mind will think only in that direction. The knowledge they acquire will be only in that direction. The activities they do will be only in that direction. So the conception of the world that we have determines who we are, what our place is in this world, and what our purpose is. If you take a very successful businessman, what will they say to the same question? World is a big place, world has so many opportunities, I spend all my time how to take advantage of everything, how to make profit out of everything. What opportunity can I use? How to make profit out of it. That is their worldview. So, and similarly, the conception of the world evolves. Based on the conception of the world, if we are afraid of the world, we will not be able to be successful. If we have trust on the world, that the universe will reward us in the way we engage with it. So if we engage with it with love and affection, you will receive love and affection from everywhere. If you engage with it with fear and animosity, you will receive the same from everywhere. Everybody will be either afraid of you or want to attack you. If you want to see the world as only a screen in front of the truth, it's just a screen closed, the truth is hidden behind, then your perspective will be how to remove that screen and see the real truth. So basically Agastya taught Aditya Hridayam to change that perspective in Rama so that he can conquer the inner enemies. So a lot of people who are always focused outward, how to take advantage of opportunities or how to protect myself from enemies from outside, they never look inside. They never see what screens are hiding the truth underneath. And Aditya Hridayam teaches that everything is Aditya only. Everything is truth, and the Aditya, means sun god, is creating these names and forms and all these things. So that's how the perspective was opened up for him.
Sun
But-
God is creating the names and forms?
Yeah, Aditya is the one, he's a Brahma, he's a Vishnu, he's Mahendra, he's everything. So therefore that's why he's called Surya, because Suyamanat Surya. One who creates this entire mesmerizing world, that power with this light is Aditya. And if you understand the essence of Aditya Hridayam, then you will be able to remove that screen, and Ravana is nothing. But anyway, that is one thing. We can learn Aditya Hridayam. That's a much deeper concept. But let's understand about Agastya, spend a lot of time about Agastya today. Okay? You know Agastya's given name, anybody knows? Anybody has seen his birth certificate with his given name? Nobody knows his given name. But he got his name Agastya. You know why? Anybody know that? Agam stambhayati iti Agastyaha. He stopped a mountain from raising. He just stopped, arrested a mountain. Anybody know the story?
Snake.
Huh? You know the story? What story is it?
Yeah. It's the story when Agastya wanted to marry this
Lopamudra?
a princess. So then they were going to cross the mountain, but it kept growing to show off its
Yeah.
power.
Yeah, it's not about he's going to marry, but what happened was there was a mountain named Vindhya. A lot of people, there is Vindhyachal and Vindhya mountain range is there in India, right? So that is a representative of actual Vindhya. Vindhya thought that I am a great mountain. I am very tall, very big, very expansive mountain range. But why does sun and all these planets and all the divinities, they orbit around Meru, Sumeru. Sumeru is another mountain, that Meru Parvata. He said, I'm going to challenge Meru's dominance here. I want everybody to orbit around me. I don't want people to orbit around Meru. So he started growing and growing and growing. He wanted to become very big and taller than Meru. And then everybody got panicked. You know, what is this Meru, Vindhya's growth? Who can tackle this? And they said, you know, this little short dwarf man, you send him to the south. And they sent this dwarf man to the south. And he was coming down, and Vindhya said, oh sage, you are very, very divine. What can I do for you? He said, I have some business to take care of in the south. You lay down a little bit because I'm too short, I cannot cross over you. So you lay down a little bit until I come back. And he went there and never came back. So the mountain stopped growing, right? So, and because he arrested the growth of the mountain of Vindhya, he was called Agastya. Aga means something that does not move. We talked about Naga, right? Na plus Aga is Naga. Aga means something that has no motion, stationary, immobile. So Aga means stationary. One who had stopped at that mountain is Agastya. but another deep meaning is there. I'll come to that in a bit. But what is this Vindhya and stopping? Of course, it's all nice and cock and bull stories like we can all understand and have fun about. But what is the meaning that it is telling? That is, yeah?
Like ego keeps growing.
Yeah, you can think of it as ego. Yeah, very good. And Agastya, subdued ego. We have lots of ego stories. But Vindhya, why the name Vindhya? Actually, it is Vindhya. There are also devils named Vindhya and Prativindhya. They will come in a different story. But anyway, Vindhya means to know. To know something, how? With logic and with intellect. With intellect and logic, you can know a lot of things. And that's how scientists figured out about Big Bang, whether we don't know whether Big Bang is true or not, but they have figured out so many things by using logic. Logic is also called tarkam, like logic and intellect. But can you figure out everything about the world with logic and intellect? No, there are so many things that are beyond logic and intellect. Because logic and intellect requires an instrument. What is that instrument? Our mind. Our mind has limitations. You cannot take a screwdriver and do neurosurgery, brain surgery, right? Because the tool has limitations. So similarly, our eyes have limitations. We can only see a certain spectrum from with GR, whatever that wavelength range is. What is the wavelength range? About 350 nanometers to about 600 nanometers. Our ears can only hear a small audible range, 20 hertz to maybe 20,000 hertz, that's it. Beyond that, it cannot hear sounds. They're called ultrasound, right? Ultrasound we can't hear. And similarly, ultraviolet, anything with shorter wavelength than violet is ultraviolet. Anything that is longer wavelength than red is called infrared. You can't see infrared, you can see ultraviolet. So we have limitations with our instruments. Mind has limitations. With these limitations, you cannot solve some problems, you cannot find solutions. But this atheism or this intellectualism thought that it can really eclipse the power of Meru. Meru is experiential knowledge around which sun revolves, all the planets revolve. So Meru is representative of Veda, the knowledge contained in Veda. It's knowledge coming from experience of rishis, coming from deep samadhi, deep meditative states. And from those deep meditative states, they have the experience. And with that experience, they have a clear idea of the truth. But with intellectualism, with the logic and all these things, you can get some understanding, but it will not be able to overcome or eclipse. So therefore, when Agastya moved, Agastya is telling the experiential knowledge is much more powerful and more dominant. And when it comes to ultimate truth, you have to have trust on people who have direct experience, not on just intellectualism. There are a lot of people ask lots of intelligent questions, but they're only for entertainment. Like a lot of young kids, you will get, your intellect is developing and you will ask a lot of questions, but there are some questions you will not be able to answer. You remember in the first session, there was one little girl asking about very deep questions about the universe. Yes. You cannot address them with mind at all. So Agastya is the one who is in the state of absolute stillness. Aga means stillness. One who remains in stillness will have that experiential knowledge, and he will be able to surpass anything that logic can reach, anything intellect can reach. So okay, that is one great power of Agastya. So Agastya gives that experiential knowledge by remaining in stillness, by arresting the growth of very active, superactive mind, superactive intellectualism, superactive logic and all that. Okay, that is one thing. There is another beautiful story of Agastya. There were two demon brothers, Ilvala, Vatapi. Anybody know that story? Have you heard that story?
Fun story.
Yes.
Yeah? Have you heard Jirnam, Vatapi, Jirnam?
Yeah.
Everybody heard that, right? So this Vatapi, Ilvala and Vatapi were there. So Ilvala and Vatapi both are very cunning. So they are living in a forest there. So Vatapi, Ilvala, what he does is he invites Brahmins for eating a meal on Shraddha. Every day he says that, it's my father's Shraddham. Shraddha, Shraddham, right? Shraddham is the anniversary, death anniversary. So they on that day, they will make some offerings, they will invite Brahmanas and they will give food and they will do certain things. So they say, I am performing Shraddha for my ancestors, so please come and have a meal here. And then he will convert Vatapi into a goat. In Sanskrit it is called Mesham. It's not really a female, it's a male goat, like with all these things, the little goatee and with horns. So that's called Mesham. There is a Mesha Rasi also. Everybody know that? Mesha Rasi, Aries. So he will convert Vatapi into a Mesham and chop it and make a nice meal, mamsam meal, and serve it to Brahmanas. You shouldn't ask the question, why Brahmanas are eating meat? Some people say, oh, in those days Brahmanas used to eat. When you come to the deep meaning of the story, all these meaningless things will fall apart. But anyway, so he will serve the meal, and after eating the meal, then Ilvala will call, Vatapi, come. Then Vatapi will rip the stomach open and come out, and that Brahmana was killed. So they will take the wealth and everything of the Brahmana and throw the corpse away, and then move on. They have killed thousands like that. So
They won't eat the Brahmana.
Maybe they eat the Brahmana, whatever it is.
They're Rakshasas.
Rakshasas, right? Let's say they will eat the Brahmana also, just to add masala for the story.
Sorry to scare you.
And then,
Sorry.
and then one day Agastya was coming that way. So they invited Agastya. Today is our father's Shraddham, so please come. He said, okay. And then they said, okay, I'm going to serve you a goat meat, he said, no, we don't need to kill an animal, whatever simple is okay. He said, no, we have to do it. Because in some Shraddhas it is allowed to cook a mamsam. And a replacement for mamsa is, anybody know Vishwamitra Srushti for mamsa?
Aratic.
Black grams. Black grams. Minumulu. Minumulu, mamsaniki pratisrushti. So they are the, Vishwamitra created an alternate for mamsa. Therefore, they are essential. Black grams are essential when you are making Shraddha. For Gare, Vada, you have to make all those. So he said, we'll make it. And they made it. And then Agastya ate it. Then again, Ilvala called, Vatapi, come out. Vatapi, come out. He said, where is Vatapi? He's digested. He said, Jirnam, Vatapi, Jirnam. Vatapi has digested completely. Then Ilvala got frightened. Then he tried to attack Agastya, and Agastya burned him with his gauge. So Ilvala was destroyed. So that's a beautiful story. But this, yeah?
How did Sage Agastya know that Vatapi was in his stomach?
What is that say?
How did Sage Agastya know that he ate Vatapi?
He can digest anything, let's put it that way for now. But some story says, he said, Jirnam, Vatapi, Jirnam. He knew that it was Vatapi, and he said, okay, let Vatapi be digested completely so that he can never come back.
When we were young, we used to, every time we ate a meal, we would say Jirnam, Vatapi, Jirnam.
Yeah. But that is there to teach something. Like in childhood, you will say, oh, Jirnam, Vatapi, Jirnam. And for your kids also, you will say, do Jirnam, Vatapi, Jirnam. But eventually, you need to understand what is Vatapi, why should Vatapi be digested, and who can actually digest. There are so many Brahmanas that couldn't digest. And this little baby, by saying Jirnam, Vatapi, he will digest? What are you talking? Right? He has to become an Agastya in order to digest Vatapi. Right? So it is there to remind us that we have to become Agastya to digest. And I already gave a hint what Agastya is in the first story. Okay, so let's look at this story and the meaning of this one.
Vatapi, there is no relation with Vata and Pitta.
Yeah, it is. There is very good relation. Not with Pitta, but Vata. So we'll start from there. Vatam means wind. Janjhavatam. Have you heard Janjhavatam? Pravata. Tufan, right? It's called Janjhavatam in Sanskrit. Vatam means wind. And in Ayurveda, Vatam means like lot of movement, too much circulation. So Vata represents the circulation within us. We have circulation in many parts. The prana, we talked about prana shakti. The prana is vital energy. Vital energy flows in many, many directions. Anyone remember what are some of the examples of vital energy flow in the body? Anybody remember?
Prana, samana, udana, apana.
Oxygen.
Yeah, oxygen. Yeah, breathing takes
Blood.
oxygen.
Circulation of blood is vital to deliver nutrients to various cells across the body.
Exactly. So that is movement of prana.
When you're eating and your body's digesting.
Digest food, that is also prana shakti.
But food only goes down the esophagus. It doesn't necessarily go.
No, it gets digested and
Yeah.
all the nutrients get absorbed by the small intestine and they mix with the bloodstream, and blood carries thing to every single cell. There are tiny, tiny capillaries. Tiny, tiny capillaries, so small that only one blood platelet can move through, somehow maneuver through and get delivered oxygen and all the nutrients there. It's just so tiny. And any other ideas? Information. Like if I touch you,
Nerves.
you know where I touched. Whether it was a metal object touching you, or whether it is a finger touching you, or if it is a soft toy touching you, you will know that. You don't have to look at it. You will know where it exactly touched. So information going in. And when you want to move your hands, information is going out. So there is conduction everywhere, movement everywhere. This is called prana and is also represented by vata. Vata is movement. Vatapi means one who drinks away that prana. What drinks away that prana? Death. So Vatapi is basically death. But death doesn't mean death for the body. Death actually means that we associate ourselves with so many mortal properties. Mortal properties means all the mortal people who are bound by death, they have some ideas. Let us say if you really want something, it was not there with you, now it came to you. Then you are so happy. And when it parts from you, what happens?
You're sad.
You're sad. That is a property of death. Getting something and losing it. This is one of the mortal properties. Somebody is in a good mood, happy mood, they heard a bad news and they started crying. So the good mood is gone, good mood is dead. Sukham is dead and Dukkham is born. And after some time, then you are treated with something else, then Dukkham is dead and Sukham is born. So these are the mortal properties. We are mortals not because our body dies. Of course, everybody dies. Even Brahma will disappear at some point of time. But the mortality is a mindset. Mortality is a mindset. Immortality is freedom from that mortality. So anything that is changing all the time, and if you are associated with the change, if you are too much connected with the change, you think you are changing, then it is mortal properties. Like for example, somebody has pain in their knee. Pain is for this. People say, I have pain. How come you have pain? It's the knee that is having pain or whatever. Knee swelling is. So you have headache, you'll say, I have headache. Head has ache. I don't have headache. Yeah? Right? So like that, anything that changes outside or anything that changes in the body, anything that changes in the mind, if it is constantly affecting us, constantly shifting our mood from good mood to bad mood, happiness to unhappiness, anger, all these things, that is called mortal. That is called mrityu. And Vatapi represents that mortal nature. And Vatapi has another form, Mesha, right? Big goat or ram, whatever that is. And that Mesha, I use that word very carefully. Why? Because Ma plus Isha is Mesha. So basically it is desire on the worldly objects. Another form of death is desire, excessive desire on worldly objects. You have a purpose, you act with a purpose. But if you are acting with a desire for a certain object or a certain thing, then it is almost same as death. Because it will create immediately a problem, right? If I really have a desire, I want to get a beautiful Porsche car. Let us say that's my desire. Until the Porsche comes, I am sad. Once the Porsche comes, I am happy. And then my neighbor scratches it, then I am unhappy again. So because this desire will create that mortal nature, will activate our mortal nature within us. And who can digest that desire completely? Only who is in stillness. Only who can maintain stillness. If a person is constantly going up and down, constantly subjected to good mood, bad mood, constantly subjected to everybody that's in social media, they say all kinds of garbage. If you are associated with it and constantly going up and down because of that, then we don't have stillness. We're constantly disturbed, right? So one who has stillness will be able to handle desire way better than those people who do not have stillness. People who are constantly disturbed will not be able to handle desire. So Agastya is the one, because he has stillness, he is able to digest the desire. The desire has no effect on him. It will not affect him at all. And desire is the way that the world will hold us or enslave us. It will hold us as a slave. So how do you enslave people? By putting shackles and chains around. That's what Ilvala means. Ila means the earth, the world. Vala means to tie around, to bind around, put in shackles. So Ilvala means one who take the worldliness and shackle you up. And his younger brother is the death. And he has another form, strong desire. So who can tackle it? Only the one who can maintain stillness. Only the one who doesn't get disturbed too much. So that individual will be able to tackle the overpowering nature of desire. And they won't subject to mortal nature. And they won't be tied down or enslaved by the worldliness around. So, and such Agastya came and taught Rama this great, super wonderful perspective. And in this perspective, you will see the whole universe as one thing, pervaded by one principle. The entire universe is pervaded by one single principle, although it appears to be so many things, so many objects, so much going on, but it is pervaded by one single principle. And if you hold that in your thought, in stillness, then any enemy, even as a great enemy as Ravana, will be no match, will be destroyed. So that is the stories and the meaning. So we'll stop here and then we'll take some questions. Sarvesham. What is that? I forgot. So we'll say another prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Om Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu Asmat Gurubhyo